Alright, so I want to take a quick look at installing MySQL on our Windows 11 computer systems. Some persons pronounce it MySQL. Alright, now first thing that we'll do is open our browser, type MySQL in our search bar here. Now the first search result that you should be seeing is the link to the official MySQL website. We will click on that link, then we will click on downloads, then we will scroll down and we should be seeing MySQL community downloads. We will click on that option. At the bottom here, you should be seeing an option for the MySQL installer for Windows. We will click on that option as well. Now that will take us to a page where you should be seeing two download options for Windows. First, you should be seeing the web community MySQL installer and just the regular installer for MySQL. Also, you can see here the current version of MySQL. Now, the one that we will be downloading is the file here that is 428.3 megabytes. All right, so that's the one that we want to download. So I'm going to click on the download option here. Now there's no need to log in or sign up. All right, so you can just simply click on no thanks, just start my download. And then you can install your, well, you can download your MySQL installer file anywhere you desire. Now, most of us will know that MySQL or MySQL is a relational database management system that we can use to create databases. Good thing is it is open source and we can use it freely. Right? Now I won't get into the paid version aspect of MySQL and so forth, but for students and persons who are learning databases and so forth, this is a good option. Also, if you are creating applications maybe in Java or other programming languages, you can take advantage of MySQL as well and connect it to your applications. Now, our installer file would have been successfully downloaded. So I'm just going to click on it to configure the MySQL installer. Right. So it is preparing to install and we are being asked to please wait while Windows configures the MySQL installer. Right, you will see an option to give Windows permission to configure the installer. Alright, so all you need to do is just click on yes and then it will start the installer configuration process for us. Alright, there will be another option to launch the installer. So we'll click on yes. You're probably not seeing this part of it, but the option will come up. So just click on yes. Alright, and the installer is being launched. Alright, awesome. Now we are being asked to choose a setup type. Now we can definitely go with the developer default here, which will give us the MySQL server, the MySQL shell, which is a command line interface that we can use to create databases and so forth. Then there is the MySQL router, the MySQL Workbench, which is a nice IDE that we can use, a nice graphical user interface IDE that we can use to create our databases. And we also have the MySQL connectors, which is important for persons who are creating applications in maybe Java or other programming languages, and they want to connect to MySQL or connect to a MySQL database. Now, we can also decide to select the custom products that we want, or we can select the products that we want by clicking on custom, or we can just go with the developer default. Now, for me, I don't want the MySQL router, so I'm going to click on custom and then click on next. All right, so here I definitely want the MySQL server, so I'm going to expand this and expand this, and here is the MySQL server. I definitely want this, so I'm just going to select that option to be installed. In terms of applications, I want the MySQL workbench, definitely. So I'm going to select this option. And I want the MySQL shell. So I'm going to select that option. All right. Also, I want a few of these connectors. Um, so I'm definitely going to take the connector for Python, just in case I want to develop an application in Python and I want to connect to MySQL. So I'm going to go with the 64-bit version. I am also going to grab the connector for .NET, and then for my developers who are developing in Java, you would definitely need this connector J option here, because it will allow you to connect your Java applications to a MySQL database. So I want that as well. I haven't done any development in C for a very long time, but if you want, you can grab the C++ option here as well. And for the general Windows ODBC connector, just in case, you can grab this option as well. Right, so I did the custom selection because I didn't want the router or the MySQL router. And then there are some documentations here, sample examples. I usually install the documentations. You don't have to. It's not that important, but I usually do. All right, so let me just add this quickly, and then let me add these examples. All right, so we can definitely go to next. All right, so this is telling me that I have a little conflict here where this path already exists. So what I'll do is I'll pause and just check to see if I can remove this path. Or as a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll install, and hopefully it will not cause any issues. If it does, then I'll fix it then. But just to keep things flowing, I'm just going to click on next. All right, so I'm going to say yes. Now, these are the different products or components that will be installed for us, the server, the workbench, and so forth. So I'm just going to click on execute. All right, so the MySQL server is currently being installed, and then the workbench and so forth. All right, so I'll just allow these to install, and then I'll come back and configure my my MySQL server password and so forth. Alright, so all our products would have been successfully installed. So I'm just going to click on next. Alright, so it is asking me, or at least telling me that it is ready to configure my MySQL server, which will most likely involve us or me selecting, entering a password and also deciding on a username. So I'm just going to click on next. Alright, so it's a development computer. The default MySQL port is 3306, so we leave that. Alright, now also we can now go ahead and click on next, and here it is saying show advanced and login options, but for us we'll just click on next. Now this is what I was saying in terms of us setting up a username and password. So we're going to leave this option here where it says use strong password encryption for authentication. That's the recommended. So I'm going to click on next. Now it is asking us for our password. It is using root as our default username. So all that is required now is for us to enter a password. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to just confirm my password here. All right. You can also add a new user if you want to, or add an additional user if you want to by clicking this option. But I am fine with just the one user on this system. So I'm going to click on next. All right. So this is the name or the service name on my Windows computer for MySQL. Now I can decide to start MySQL at system startup. If I uncheck this, it means that I'll have to go to service and start MySQL whenever I need to use it. Right? I'm going to uncheck this, but you can leave it check if you want to start the MySQL service at startup or start your MySQL server at startup. So I'm going to uncheck that. All right. Then I'm going to click on next. And it is saying if I want to grant full access to users, I'm going to just click on next and keep that option. All right, so I'm going to finish applying these configuration. I'm going to click on execute. All right, so I'll just allow this to finish configure, and then we'll finish up afterwards. All right, so let's just check back on our configurations. All right, so they were all applied successfully. So I'm going to go ahead and click on finish. All right, so we have the samples and examples to configure now. So I'm going to click on next. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and type the password that I would have previously created. All right, so I type my password, I click on check, and that was checked out for me. All right, so the password matched what I had previously. So I'm now just going to click on next and I'm going to execute now. So again, this is configuring the samples and examples for us. All right, so let's just give that some time to finish configure. All right, so the configuration was completed successfully. So I'm just going to click on finish. All right, so both those were completed successfully. So I'm now just going to click on next and we are good to go. So we can launch MySQL Workbench and the MySQL shell as well. So I'm just going to leave these check and launch them just to show you what the workbench and the shell looks like. All right, so this here is our MySQL workbench. As I said, we can use it to create our databases and manipulate the databases, add data and so forth, create tables and so forth. So this is the GUI version that we get when we install MySQL, and this GUI version or this MySQL workbench is used, as I said, to create your databases, or we can use the command line version here, or as it is called, the MySQL shell to do the same thing that we can do with MySQL workbench. Right, there's just one other thing I want to look at, and that is I want to check if my MySQL server is running. So I'm just going to go to services. All right, so my services window is up here. So let me just check to see if I can find MySQL. Right, so the service name in Microsoft is MySQL 80. I'm just going to check to see, and it is currently running. Right, so I could right click on this if I want and stop the service, or if it's not running, I can right click and start the service. Right, so that is pretty much it in terms of us installing MySQL or MySQL, as some persons call it, as I said, to our Windows 11 computer system. Right, so that is basically it for this video. I might follow up with videos in terms of how to now use the MySQL workbench and the MySQL shell and so forth, and even look at how we can use products like the connector J to connect our MySQL database to a Java application. Right, but for now, this is it. Hopefully, you don't have any issues